Before I talk about the next film Blue Sky created, I should notify you guys that we are getting close to the end of one of the most underrated animation studios that ever came to be. To those who know what I am talking about, well, buckle up. In 2017, Blue Sky released their 12th film, Ferdinand. Based on the children's book The Story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf and Robert Lawson. It's the story of a bull named Ferdinand who doesn't like any aggression of the sort and just wants to smell flowers. One day when he was a calf, Ferdinand escaped from the bull farm that housed him after finding out that his father never came back from a bullfight and is soon adopted by a little girl named Nina and her father Juan. When Ferdinand grows up, he ends up causing a ruckus in town and is soon sent back to the bull farm where he meets the bulls he grew up with, and the ranch is soon visited by a soon-to-be retired bullfighter named El Primero. So now Ferdinand, with the help of the bulls, alongside the kooky but well-meaning goat Lupe and 3 hedgehog siblings, set out to escape the ranch and get Ferdinand back home. 20th Century Fox Animation acquired the film rights to the original book in 2011, with Carlos Saldanha attached to be the director, and the movie was given its title in May of 2013, with Blue Sky being given the rights to distribute the movie, and John Powell was once again called by the studio to be the movie's music director. Originally, Adam Devine, the voice of Julian from Ice Age 5, was supposed to voice the leading bull himself, but the part was ultimately given to wrestler John Cena. Other actors that were wanted for the movie were all considered for the roles of the hedgehogs, like how Ginnifer Goodwin and Indina Menzel were thought up to voice Una, Ben Schwartz and Jonah Hill were considered for Quattro and Hannibal Buress, Don Cheadle and Donald Glover were asked to voice Dos. For that hedgehog, though, he was voiced by David Diggs, and this continued the Blue Sky legacy of giving some actors their first voice role in an animated film, alongside German actor Flula for the voice of one of the German horses. On a minor note, this movie isn't the first time the Ferdinand book was adapted into animation. The first was an animated short, created by Walt Disney in 1938 called Ferdinand the Bull. The movie was supposed to be released in April of 2017, but was pushed forward to December of that year due to avoiding competition of the highly anticipated Star Wars movie The Last Jedi. The film premiered on December 10, 2017 in Los Angeles, before being theatrically released in the US and Canada 5 days later on December 15th, and received mixed to positive reviews from critics and audiences, with an approval rating of 71% on Rotten Tomatoes. For the box office, it's a little complicated. In North America, it became a box office flop by earning only $84.4 million on a $111 million budget. Why? Well, circling back to the aforementioned release date changes, it turns out that The Last Jedi was also released on December 15th, and when it comes to Star Wars, well, all bets are off. However, does this mean that Ferdinand was a financial disaster of a movie? Well, not really. Despite bombing in North America, it did manage to earn a whole lot more money in other countries when it was released, managing to make a total of $296 million worldwide. The film also managed to get a nomination for Best Animated Feature at the 90th Academy Awards, which it lost to Pixar's Coco, as well as nominations for Best Animated Feature Film and Best Original Song for Home, written and sung by Nick Jonas of the Jonas Brothers. Now, for my personal thoughts on the movie, I was hyped to see it when it first came out, but after seeing it, I will say that there are things about the movie that I don't appreciate. For example, the movie's anti-violence message feels pretty heavy-handed and sort of sugarcoats on how being non-violent can solve your problems when really, there's only so much pacifism can do, and you need to be violent in the name of survival. And really, the people of Blue Sky should understand that peaceful solutions won't always win out in the end. Despite this, I do have some positives to say about the picture, like, I really like the non-bull characters of Lupe, the hedgehogs, and maybe even a little bit of the horses. All in all, Ferdinand is a hit or miss for me, but for those who like the movie, will be charmed by it for its down-to-earth nature and beautiful animation. On November 6, 2017, nearly a month before Ferdinand was released, CNBC has revealed that the Walt Disney Company was negotiating a deal with 21st Century Fox CEO Rupert Murdoch to claim ownership of Fox's filmed entertainment cable entertainment, and direct broadcast satellite divisions while excluding other Fox-based programming like the Fox Broadcasting Company, 20th Century Fox's Studio Lot, Fox Television Stations, Fox News Group, and Fox Sports. Bob Iger, the then CEO of Disney, said that the plan of purchasing Fox's assets came after Disney acquired majority control of the streaming company BAMTech while planning to create its own streaming service, Disney Plus, which was launched in November of 2019. One of the reasons why Disney was interested in acquiring Fox was because it was the last major studio from the studio era to be acquired when Rupert Murdoch was in control since 1985. And because of that, its film library was largely intact relative to other film companies from that era, like Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, aka MGM. This deal would also involve Fox's film rights to certain third-party franchises, such as X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four, and the distribution rights to Star Wars, A New Hope, despite Disney acquiring ownership of the Star Wars franchise a while back, as well as give Disney access to adult animation with ownership of The Simpsons.
Now, family, on the mouse here. To make the first impression.
I don't wanna, I'm not gonna, you can't make me.
Hold on to yours, boy.
And Family Guy.
Fight should be illegal, like copyright infringement. See you at the game, Cole!
Soon, other companies such as Comcast, Verizon Communications, and Sony also wanted to acquire Fox, which resulted in a bidding war. The bidding war lasted for a few months before, on July 19th, Comcast decided to drop its bid. The other companies must have decided to withdraw their bids as well. After 9 months of negotiations, on March 19th, 2019, the deal was made, and Fox was now officially made Disney property. You might think that after which, everything would be all sunshine and rainbows, right? Well, not exactly. You see, merging these two studios resulted in many cons, like how Disney would close down the Fox 2000 Pictures studio in the following year of 2020, after the release of film The Woman in the Window, and Disney has also stated that up to 4,000 people would be laid off. Wow, talk about bittersweet. And speaking of bittersweet, I should get to Blue Sky's next film that also happens to be one that has more significance than anyone who was a fan of Blue Sky would care to admit, Spies in Disguise. It's the story of Lance Sterling, a hotshot secret agent who is a master of dealing with criminals in violent ways. This extremist mentality puts him at odds with Walter Beckett, a young tech expert who has a pacifist mentality and creates gadgets that both incapacitates the baddies without doing any harm. Soon, though, Lance is framed by a cyborg villain named Killian, who uses his robot abilities to impersonate Lance and frame him for stealing an attack drone. Seeking to clear his name, Lance goes to Walter for help, but in the process, he inadvertently ingests a chemical that has DNA from Walter's pet pigeon, Lovely, and as a result, Lance transforms into a pigeon. Despite this rather comical setback, Lance and Walter join forces to locate Killian as he plans to use the drone to control countless other drones to use for a worldwide execution of agents and exonerate Lance, while at the same time trying to figure out how to turn him back to normal. Now, the whole concept of this movie was inspired by a 2009 animated short called Pigeon Impossible, created by Lucas Martel of Martel Animation, starring a secret agent also named Walter Beckett, who ends up having to remove a pigeon from his suitcase that's actually a device that houses many weapons, and a bunch of spy-esque shenanigans ensue. Originally, Steve Odenkirk, the creator of the Nickelodeon movie Barnyard, was considered for the position of director, but he declined and the position was soon given to directing duo Nick Brono and Tony Quain, and Spies in Disguise ends up being the directorial debut of Bruno. Also, the first actors considered for Lance and Walter were going to be John Leguizamo and Josh Hutcherson, respectively, before they were given to Will Smith and Tom Holland. In keeping with the Blue Sky method of giving some actors their first voice roles, Walter's mother Wendy, seen at the beginning of the movie, was voiced by Rachel Brosnahan. For the film's music score, Theodore Shapiro, who directed music for animated movies like Aardman's The Pirates, Band of Misfits, and DreamWorks' Captain Underpants. The first epic movie ended up composing the music for the movie, while British songwriter Mark Ronson wrote some songs for the movie, particularly the opening James Bond-themed song, Freak of Nature. Also, one of the songs heard in the movie, It Takes Two, originally came from the hip-hop duo, Rob Bass and DJ EZ Rock. Originally, the movie was supposed to be released at the beginning of 2019 in January, before getting delayed to other months such as April and September, before getting a definitive release date on Christmas Day 2019, while having a one-night premiere event at the Capitan Theater on December 4th of the same year. When the movie was released, it received positive reviews from critics and audiences alike, complete with a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes, with praise given to the animation, humor, music, and voice acting, particularly with the two leading actors. However, it ended up being a box office flop of grossing out $171 million against its $100 million budget. Despite this, the film did manage to be nominated for a Golden Reel Award, an Annie Award, and a Saturn Award. Now, before I close off, let me tell you about my personal thoughts about the movie. Well, sorry to repeat myself, but it shares the same problems with Ferdinand, as it oversells pacifism as an inherently effective method when dealing with opposition, when in truth, again, sorry to repeat myself, there are certain situations where pacifism is ineffective and the only way to ensure peace is to get violent. I mean, how preachy did Blue Sky seem to want to be about the concept of being non-violent? Are there some qualities that I like? Well, I found some of the gadgets to be cool, and Killian's robot arm makes him quite a foe for our protagonist to go up against. In essence, Spies in Disguise is, to me at least, passable at best and condescending at worst for what it's trying to teach. But if anyone can look past these flaws, then all power to you. And since this movie was released in the final year of the 2010 decade, you might be wondering if this means Blue Sky will be bringing its A-game in the 2020 decade, right?
The party is over in Miami Beach.